All right. Sorry about that, guys. It abruptly ended my my lecture there. I was just going to get to the question part. So I sent out a new link for those of you who were just in the lecture and have extra questions. Hopefully those people get the, there we go, the link. There we have somebody in here and we can answer questions. Hello, hello. Sorry about that. We're back. It cut me off very, very abruptly. I apologize. All right, so, okay, so can you retype out that question? Or state it again if I can hear you better?
Oh, yes. I wanted to ask about why I got an F for week 1.
Okay, did you reply to 2 peers?
Wait, what?
Did you respond to 2 peer posts in week 1?
Tried. I read what the instructions were telling me to do. I had to read what they were telling me, but I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even know what to type down. But I was able to read what they said and we watched the video.
It's probably because you may have not, and I'm not looking at your grade. If you got an F, I'm thinking it's because you didn't respond to 2 peer posts. But I said earlier in the lecture, if you want to go back and respond to the peers, I can change your grade. And what you would just do is just respond to their posts. So you would, you know, obviously write to them. So 2 separate peers.
I tried entering your post in discussions.
I'm sorry?
I tried entering your post in discussions.
You try to enter the discussion.
Yes.
And it won't work.
Yes. So I had to email you instead.
Oh, okay. You know what? I probably, because it has a due date. Let me see here real quick. That's a good thing to look here. Hold on 1 minute. Discussion, intro. Introduce yourself. Yeah, because it's available until the 11th. Okay, so let me change that due date here. I'm gonna kind of end the due date. There we go. Now reset, like log out, log back in when you get a chance, and then try it again. It should work. It's because I had the due date set, so it closed you out. Hello? Did you hear what I just said?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Did you have a question about this particular assignment?
Oh, yes. I wanted to know how this ID design is, what is used for.
What's InDesign used for?
Yes.
Yes, it's for it's basically a page, it's a layout application that you lay out. You could do an ad like we're doing right now, 1-page ad, or you can use it for laying out over 500-page magazine.
Okay.
And in the lecture, I kind of went over each program and what each of its purposes are. So I went over Photoshop, InDesign, and Illustrator. So if you missed that, I would definitely go back and listen to that, kind of explain the differences between each program. But what's nice about InDesign is you can set the type very easily. You can, especially for a publication, say if there's like a 100-page newsletter that you're creating, you can set up the page numbers super easy using parent pages, which you'll learn as we go forward, so that it actually numbers all the pages for you. So there's definitely advantages to using InDesign versus another program for a layout.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I also forgot to mention about my grades. I got a D and the F for what reason?
For your grade, let's see here. Are you talking about your intro post?
No, my grade.
You got an 86% in your intro grade. Now, kind of think of your grade as ever changing. This will be,
What?
it's actually considering week 2 now. So once you go forward, this will all change. So kind of not look at that as being like your final calculated grade. You got an 86%, which is a B on your intro post. So kind of just ignore what that grade says just for now, because as you're submitting, that will all change.
Yes.
It's just kind of calculating based on the overall points of the whole entire class. So it's kind of like showing you a very broad grade right now based on that. Let's see here. Yeah, so, oh, you did do the quiz 3, it looks like, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you have the quiz done, so it's calculating those points too, which you had received 50 out of 100, so that's probably going against your grade as well, because you had completed that. I didn't realize that you jumped ahead and did that. So quiz 3 isn't due until next week.
I didn't notice before I started class.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I went through that. It says in the learning path, whenever you go into week 1, it says, you have a quiz. Actually, I had my announcements. I actually said your quiz won't be until week 3. So just pay attention to the announcements. Let me see if I can unlock that quiz so that you can retake it.
Yes.
Let me see if I could do that. I'm not quite sure if I can. And then you could have like another chance at it. Let me see here, edit, properties, 100 points, all right, okay. Cancel. I'm gonna have to see if, let's see, enter grades. Let's see if I could do that. Let me ask somebody if I could reset that. And then if I can, I'll let you know, and then you could redo it. I'll just send you an email. I'm not sure if I can though, and I don't want to screw anything up. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Welcome, John. Did you have any questions? I just kind of opened this up since we were abruptly ending here.
Okay. I just installed them in design just now, but this is my first time trying to use it.
Okay. Yeah, most of you guys this is your first time. So what I would recommend is I will post this link to the recordings. Just go ahead and go through those step by step. I kind of show you how to create, I kind of show you around InDesign a little bit today, and then also how to create this ad.
All right.
Oh, okay, John. Yeah, we there's like 3 parts to this now because I got kicked out the second part, but I was right at the end of questions, so I just kind of reopened the Zoom again just for any questions that you had. I will be posting the link to you for the links for all 3 of these sections that I did today. I will email it to you and post it in announcements so you guys can review it. So
okay, perfect. Sounds good.
awesome. Yeah, and just before I end this, if you guys don't have any other questions, there, just kind of pay attention to the RAG. And what a RAG is how your copy, and I didn't say this because I was rushed. The RAG is the end, the end of your copy here. Notice how there's one word ending here. That's called a widow because it's one lonely word on a single last line here. We don't want that. Typically in typography, we want to have at least 2 words down there. So if I were to design this ad, I would probably do a shift return in front of this word healthy to just bump that down, and that just looks more balanced. So kind of pay attention to those things, especially like hyphens. You can set up your document so that the hyphens are taken care of. And that would be in your paragraph panel. Oh, let me pull this over here. If you go to your window and paragraph panel, you can actually control your hyphenation in your body copy. So you can say words with at least 5 letters can be hyphenated.
Mhm.
Or you can say fewer hyphens down here so that it fixes any hyphenation going on in your copy. The fewer, the better. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Also, for the background, I noticed you have a lot of different pictures. The instructions said to use like one fruit or one vegetable. Am I picking one specific picture out of the bunch in the file?
Well, actually, the assignment calls for using all of the images in the folder. So let me show you.
Okay.
And share my screen and go back to here. Okay. So if you click on the power of grids in week 2, and we went over this in lecture, you probably missed that though. It says select the appropriate folder. I'm just reading this right here. Fruits or vegetables, and in the folder you will find imagery for the ad, and you're going to use all images must be used.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I did in mine though, I actually used more than 5.
So
If
that
there's
makes
5,
sense.
I used 6. So I just repeated the apples just to balance it.
Okay.
But
Cool.
feel free to do whatever you want. Like I was telling the class that you don't have to do what I'm doing. Obviously, you can design this any way that you want to. Just set up your grid structure, have fun with it. You know, sometimes it's good to repeat what I'm doing and then go on your own. So you can do something, let's see here, like this, where you're kind of putting this separately here. And then your alignment tool is, I didn't show this either, so this might be good to show. If you select all of your, pull this over here, all of your images, so you can either click and drag your selection or shift select, and you go up to window and you go to your, let's see where it is. I'm sorry. Yeah, window. Where is it? Where is your, oh, where is it? Properties. Actually, go to properties. The properties box is actually really cool, has a lot of different things in here. And one of them is the align tool. So if you have all of these selected, you can align them, say align left edges. You can also equally distribute them, or this is actually pulling them all together. It would be down here, distribute objects horizontally. So what that does is creates all the same space in between all of these elements. So it's kind of a cool thing to try. So you could do something like this, make them a little bit bigger here. Or, you know, whatever you decide. I would say, you know, doing the sketches first would be a good idea so that you can have, you know, like a concept of what you're going to do. And just knowing how much information that you have is also important. I would align things to the images in this case. So let me see, show guides. So for this, I would delete all my guides here because I'm starting a new grid. So I'm just going to delete, oh, not my picture. So if I'm going with this type of a look, I would probably align this with the margin here. And then I would probably change, let's see, let's do this to 0 or 1. I would probably align this copy to hit above that banana. Always aligning is a good practice to get into. So aligning it to something like the bananas would be a good idea. And then at this point, I would play around with the size of your type. so that it works and it's not breaking in a weird way. So I probably make this smaller so important pops up. Oops, that's tracking. Hold on. I'd pull the leading up a little bit, which is the space in between your copy. So it kind of is closer together. And then I would reposition this. And I probably wouldn't do a 2-column. So I probably would change that. So text frame options, do 1 column. And I showed how to do this in the lecture. So I would do 1 column. Oops, everything's in the way here. So you could do it something like, you could do something like this. Just make sure, I'm going to pull a guide out here, that everything's aligning, especially if you have separate text boxes. Everything's aligning. And then there's that weird break that I just put there. So you could do something like this too, just to give you a different look.
Okay. Also, so let's say I do get a graphic design or digital design occupation. Would I be using InDesign or Photoshop, or would I just like be using probably one or the other, both maybe?
You would be
off-
using all of the programs.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was explaining this earlier, when I was a designer, well, when I designed for publication companies, especially, I would go back and forth from Photoshop to Illustrator to InDesign. So typically what designers do, if you have a lot of elements and you need like images to be manipulated, you do that in Photoshop. If you need like say headlines or different shape elements to be on your page, you would do those in Illustrator. And then you'd import that all into InDesign so that you could lay it out, lay your images out there, and then your type would go in last. And when I mean type, I mean like maybe not a headline. You could do headlines, but like the body copy. So for instance, let me see, let me stop sharing. You can bring up one of my portfolio pieces here. Hold on 1 second. Find my portfolio. So I used to design for a lot of publications that I can show you an example of what I did. Let's see. All right, so there was where is it? Right here, Engine Builder. I designed for them. So these covers I actually did myself. So what I did here, see that little graphic with it looks like a lightning stripe going across?
Yeah.
I did that in Illustrator. And then I pulled that into InDesign when I was done.
Okay. Okay.
When I actually redid, see that the picture of that race car, I had that in Photoshop. I deleted the background in Photoshop and brought that into InDesign. And then
a nice little mixture.
Yeah. So then the copy, then I placed mainly in, you know, the masthead was already built. So I just placed that out as an image. But the copy I would place in to InDesign if it was part of, let's see if I have another example here. Yeah. So like for this one, the copy at the bottom in the orange, I would do in InDesign. And certain things I would do in other programs and just bring it all in.
So with the things that we're going to be learning in InDesign and in this class, and I guess I'm okay with Photoshop. I don't know a lot, but I know the bases.
Even for me, for Photoshop,
would I be able to get a job in graphic design, like in one of my local areas? Like, what do you think I should do about that?
Well, throughout the program, you should be learning all of the actual Adobe programs. So every class kind of touches upon a certain main program that you use. And this class will be using primarily InDesign. So you're going to learn more in InDesign in this class than you will in Photoshop and Illustrator. So we're basically going to be focusing on InDesign. However, I will be kind of saying you could pull this in from Photoshop into InDesign. I'm going to kind of give you an idea of how it's worked in the real world. So like say if we're creating a magazine, I'm going to say, well, typically what you would do with this photograph is you would open it up in Photoshop first, make those changes, and then bring it into your InDesign layout. So I'll kind of give those examples, but we're going to be focusing mainly on InDesign. When you come out of this program, you will know all of the programs. So you'll know how to use Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. You'll know the basics and learn how to use them and know what they're for. So whenever you go out and find a job, you'll be well trained in the foundation of all of those programs to be able to do a project, whichever, whatever your job is, you'll be able to use all of those programs.
Gotcha. Well, like,
that makes sense.
let's say in the next few months, I choose to go look for a job like that. And a lot of these they ask for like 2 years experience, 3 years experience. I probably still haven't gotten my bachelor's just yet, but I'm still searching. Do you think some of these occupations would be okay with letting me go in even though I have like minimum experience, not something of like 2-3 years?
Well, it would depend on your comfort level of how you are in the programs. You don't want to accept a job where you're going to go in and they're not going to teach you the programs. So if you're not comfortable with the programs, I would say wait, because they're going to know when you walk in there. They're not going to train you to learn the program. They want you to know how to use the program. They'll train you to learn their workflow processes and how they work, but they're not going to sit there and show you how to do things. So I would say if your comfort level is, if you're kind of a starter to the programs, hold off until you're more comfortable. And I would just say experiment, practice in each program. I would, do anything that you can on the side. And that's kind of what I did. Like I was a student and I had no experience, just like you in the beginning. And that's the tough part, but when you can also still do work on the side if you're comfortable. So I would do stuff for friends and like people that I knew, Photoshop stuff or whatever, just to get that practice.
Okay, cool.
And certain people do pay for that. So you'd be surprised, like organizations, say like a church or something, and you want to like lay out a basic newsletter for them and you feel comfortable enough to do that, that could be an option. But I would say don't jump into like an actual like ad agency
Something that's
job.
like really big.
Yeah, you don't want to put yourself in like, you don't want to put that bad vibe to, where you're not quite qualified and they look at you like, what are you doing here? You want to make yourself look good and you want to make sure you have everything ready to go before you go jump into something like that. So,
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, none from me.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to go post this lecture link. You guys can review it to what you get caught up on. And hopefully next week I'll have this so it's streamlined to one lecture link and it's not like jumping around like crazy.
I have a question. One of my last questions. Okay, I'm going over to week 2 now to do the design. I want to know if they can remark my score for week 1, because I don't want them to make me. I don't want them to fail me for that done.
Are you talking about the quiz?
No, well, the quiz and the week 1.
Yeah, you can go back in there. It should be open for your intro and go ahead and do any necessary changes and then I can revise your grade accordingly.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, sometimes there's misunderstandings and I get that and I accept resubmission. So go ahead and do that and just kind of let me know when you do so that I can go back and revise it.
Okay. I already sent you an email in Outlook.
Okay, perfect. All right, sounds good. All right, guys. Well, if you need me, you know where to find me, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for meeting. I'll talk to you guys on the boards.
Okay.
Have a good day.
All
You
right.
too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
You too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.